Like many of us, I've been a Star Wars fan since I was little. The branding is in a weird place, trying to stay relevant with a much wider market where even Marvel films aren't necessarily guaranteed to be successful. I put out a pretty damning review of The Mandalorian and Grogu last night, but with copyright rules on YouTube, I'm not allowed to make a short longer than a minute for certain production companies. I wanted to go more into my thoughts of why I didn't like this. The director Jon Favreau has an aptitude to be a good director, but has been more corporately laced this past decade. Even in going from a decent Jungle Book live-action adaptation, he does this again with The Lion King and somehow made one of the most personality-filled animated films into a soulless highlight reel of story beats. Star Wars is an endearing testament to Shakespeare in space, where we have a dynamic assemblage of characters with interpersonal moments and engaging production to where you felt like a galaxy far, far away truly transports you there. George Lucas had an underlying social commentaries of totalitarianist regimes and World War II with his films, with a fascinating combination of characters and great visual storytelling, with a blistering identity within John Williams' score and the most unique and recognizable Foley artist sounds. You have this franchise that rightfully reached so many people and has enraptured us through several stories. Even now, Disney has some bright spots. Andor is seriously incredible and follows those of us who grew up with this franchise and takes a more serious tone laden with commentaries of fascism, but even Disney wouldn't allow showrunner Tony Gilroy to comment on such. This is the first Star Wars movie in 7 years, and the return to The Mandalorian after some hiatus and a pretty bad and forgettable season 3. This film finds itself in similar company, unfortunately. The main focus here is to have The Mandalorian and Grogu be an allegory for parent-child relationship, specifically father and son, like the Skywalker saga has been. Only the definition to those moments are like Pedro Pascal saying, "Always wear your seatbelt," or "Let's save the rest for after dinner," when referencing a snack. This film is inherently trying to replicate old action sci-fi serials from long ago, just like George Lucas also is trying to do, but it doesn't care about saying anything, just giving us recycled lines like, "We're gonna have to do this the hard way," or "What took you so long?" And while it feels in line with a longer episode of the show, it's also very inconsequential and a filler episode. It represents the lowest quality bar. When all is said and done, there's no meaningful development of the story. It simply serves as a romp to gauge interest of the franchise. The Mandalorian and Grogu are the same through this, with no change or internal development as characters. They are just going on an adventure that doesn't have much meaning other than putting Rod of the Hutt into future focus. It's not to say that there aren't some moments of unique fan service. The pit fight is basically a bigger adaptation of Jar Jar, Star Wars A New Hope, but even that idea has been adapted several times over this franchise. The whole first half feels like a ripoff of the opening act of Return of the Jedi. You do feel Dave Filoni's involvement, but only in deep lore characters, Glup Shittos, which are the idea of these characters being repurposed for more modern stories in this franchise, and not so much his voice as a writer, but rather as a creative consultant with Favreau at the helm. Strangely, the best moment of this film comes from Grogu nurturing the Mandalorian back to health at a point. The film shuts up and actually shows a moment of someone caring for and caring about someone else, something that's otherwise been so well conveyed in all these previous films, yet is so scarce here. I do want to give props to Ludwig Göransson, who gives this film some life through an interesting soundtrack, and though it's not my favorite, it's still distinct, and he's always teeming with ideas. Second half of this film is an absolute drag. It goes on far too long, and you could have ended it after the first hour, and I'd probably bump up my score a little bit because it'd be a more focused idea. And while I don't mind some of the first act of this movie, I loathe the style of modern action film editing, where a scene cuts or transitions every 1 to 2 seconds. Even in the exposition, the cohesiveness feels more rapid fire, but also unaffecting, and needs to remind us 4 times that Rod of the Hutt is Jabba the Hutt's son, but different. And even though I do like some of the creature design here, the performances aren't showing up either. Pedro Pascal's stoic quality, when it needs urgency to a situation, it's played very lackluster, just like the entire quality of this. There's a scene where he tries to shoo Grogu to go be safe, and he says, "Go now," and it just doesn't work. In talking with some friends after this film, my buddy Alex noted that the upcoming Star Wars Starfighter movie with Ryan Gosling will also focus on father-son dynamics between Ryan Gosling and Flynn Gray. I look at this film as a spearhead for what's to come down the line. I see a regurgitation with a director of Sean Levy who I don't really care for already, and I see another inconsequential Star Wars film haphazardly about family. And while it's not okay to judge something without seeing it, I've not really been impressed by many of Levy's films or his occasional writing partner, Jonathan Tropper. This makes me feel like the galaxy far, far away has lost its edge and identity in favor of something more corporate, safe, and bland. And while I went on opening night, and Star Wars fans will find something fun to be had here, our audience was definitely into this film. I'm a film enthusiast who wants to feel something or be challenged by something, or even see something new, novel, or distinct within its own personality, and I couldn't really latch on to much here. This makes me feel as though the future of the franchise is just more geared towards streaming, because that's where the best output for Star Wars has been the past decade. So that's my review. I hope you understand where I'm coming from. I never go into a movie wanting to trash it or not like it. My time is on the line, and I care about these. I connect to film very deeply, and I care very much about it. I have seen a lot of films in my life. I've reviewed a lot of films in my life. I want to see something new, unique, or interesting. And unfortunately, none of that is happening here. I only want to give you the honest opinion of a cinephile and a writer who wants to be both critical but appreciative of the art that they're watching. Anywho, that's my review. Thank you for tuning in. My Sith video is a little bit behind, but you probably should see it soon. And I will be reviewing Backrooms probably on Thursday or Friday of next week. I hope everybody is doing well. And let me know what you think of this movie. Let me know what your favorite Star Wars movies or just like Star Wars anything are. I hope you're doing well wherever you are, and I will talk to you again very soon. Thanks. Bye.